Hello everybody. Just going to give it a few minutes, wait for a couple of people to log on, and then we'll start talking about this shit show which has gone on in the last couple of months to me. So bear with me. Just going to give it a minute for a couple of people to log on. How's it going, Andy? Nice to see you, mate. How's it going, Mark? Hope you stick around, guys. Listen to this, because it's something you're going to want to hear if you're a big collector or you like your flash devices like I do. How's it going, Don? You alright, mate? Yo! I'm glad to get responses. How's it going, guys? I'm able to hear you as well. I'm able to read you as well. I've got it going on the PC and on my phone. I'm just going to shut the door on the dogs because they're being a bit bloody noisy today. Alright. Okay, a couple of other people joining now, so I'm just going to flip this round, start gassing, and then we will go into it a bit deeper. I hope you're all having a good day today. It's probably the last bit of sunshine we're going to get this year by the look of it. Kind of freak bit of sun today, so right, let's flip this round. Put it on me. My ugly mush. Anyway, sorry, I'm sat by the door. It's a bit bright there. I'll move over a touch. I can readjust this one, so get into it anyway. So, yeah, Wing Commander 3 is a good game, mate. Definitely. Number 3 is the one with Mark Hamill, isn't it? If I remember rightly. But yeah. So anyway, how's it going, guys? Long time no see. Obviously, I've not done a video on here for a long time. The last you heard from me was probably live, would have been around the revival time. Obviously, we did revival back in June. That was fantastic, as I think I reported on. I don't know if I actually did a full follow-up video, but I definitely put a few comments in about it. But yeah, revival was like super fantastic this year. It was one of our most probably our most highly attended events so far. It went down really well reviewed, and yeah, so I'll go into that fully in another video anyway, but just to let you know, because a lot of people have been asking again recently, we've gone very quiet. After a revival event, I go quiet for a while because I have to kind of unplug, recharge the batteries, and kind of get to see to a few other things. And I'd said quite publicly, I needed to take some time out for health, and I also needed to see to, I've had a lot of stuff to do in my house. I'm doing loads of renovation and things like that. So I've been really busy with that, and I just need to take a break, man. It's been non-stop for the last like 8 years. So I just need to take a break. And definitely next year, there's not going to be one big event next year. I turn 40 next year, and it's going to be too much of a push to get an event done next year. I need to take another look at the another good look at the event scene next year before I go back and we do another full-size event. So next year, I've took the decision that we're going to do 2 events next year. And we're doing a part 1 on the 7th and 8th of March and a part 2 on the 7th and 8th of November. And they're just going to be kind of smaller, medium-sized events. If you came to the Winter Warmer back in 2015, it's a little bit bigger than that. So we'll be doing that next year. So anybody who's been asking, that's going to be our next event. Will be March. We're not going to be doing one pre-Christmas like we originally thought. We're back in March, and I'll go over it in full detail in another video anyway. So yeah, I'm back to it now, and unfortunately I've got to start with a rather negative video, and I didn't want to have to do this. It's not something I like to do. I know I have my gripes on Facebook, I know I have a bit of a poke at things, but I just call shit when I see it, basically. And unfortunately, I've finally been stung. Let's put it that way. When it comes to collecting old systems, you kind of have to take the rough with the smooth. I'm sure when you're collecting anything, you have to kind of, decide where your money goes best. You're hunting for things that you can't buy off the shelf anymore. So you're always looking to find the bargains, and you always have to think about what you're getting. And that can mean some pretty dodgy deals. I've bought arcade machines without seeing them, where you're talking several £700, up to £1,000 at a time. I've bought collections. Things change hands all the time. And one of the things, obviously, I've been covering a lot on this channel is that when it comes to collecting for old systems, I'm not a shelf collector. I much prefer the convenience and obviously the modern, solution to playing games on a lot of these old systems is to use flash devices. Now that means EverDrives for most consoles, but it also means, how's it going, Kieran? It also means custom devices for things like the home computers, or some of the newer solutions coming out for things like the CD-based systems, where you can't just whack in a cartridge and be done. So, and obviously as time goes on, there's more and more protection you have to kind of work around. So I've reported on a lot, and one of the things I've said a lot in my videos, and I kind of feel guilty for saying it now, is that I've encouraged people to take a gamble on ordering ordering these devices from obscure locations. Now, how's it going, Jason? Good to see you, mate. And what it is, a lot of these systems, you can get like EverDrive pretty much at any store now. Well, maybe not the local game shops and that, but you go online, places like Stone Age Gamer, Retro Towers, they sell EverDrives, the original Crix EverDrives, they're the most popular. But then there's other devices that are out there where, there's a decent checkout system. They create several devices, they've got a proper shop system, and that they operate still as hobbyists, but also very much, conscious of the way you deal with the public and with customers and things like that. And I think that's the way everyone should naturally be. If you're a decent person, someone bought something from you, say out of the paper, for example, came to your house, you wouldn't just throw something at them on your doorstep and tend to piss off, would you? There's a certain level of courtesy and there's a certain amount of respect you would show each other. And, most of the people I deal with are like that. Now, I've ordered some pretty obscure stuff. I'm gonna list a couple now because I've covered a few on this channel. Yeah, you're not going to like the results, Jeffrey, unfortunately. I've ordered the C4 CPC, which isn't being generally produced now. That is the flash cart system to the it's for the Amstrad 464 Plus and the 6128, but you can also use it on the Amstrad GX 4000, and it's made in France. The guy doesn't have amazing English, and the reason it's made in France is because Amstrad was really popular on the continent, much more popular than it was here. So obviously there's a bigger following. So obviously somewhere in France, it had a bigger following. A keen enthusiast has created this device for it. And what it is, with that, yeah, I had to track him down on a forum, which is mostly in French again. I had to email. Well, I had to join the forum. I had to message him directly. There's no other details about this guy. I had to email him, and I had to do a very personal kind of order process to get it. But at every stage through the process, he was friendly. He kept me updated. He didn't piss about. He got sent straight off. When he sent it to me, he sent me full instructions. He emailed me to check that I got it, and sent me further instructions saying if you need any help, let me know. And as it happens, the thing was pre-populated with some Amstrad stuff, which I know is a bit naughty, but a lot of people do that these days. It's not that big a deal. You're not going to go into the legal areas of emulation or ROMs and things like that. We all know the situation. I'm just going to talk about it frankly. And the C4 CPC was a great device. It came as a bare board, but he gave me a contact on where I could order or a shell for it separately, 3D printed, and he even sent me the dimensions to get it done myself. So I passed that on to my friend Jeremy, who 3D printed me a case for it. So very helpful, completely done. All in all, took about, for the whole process, about 14 days to get the device from France, a shell sent over, it all set up and running in my GX 4000. But then there's other devices like I'm trying to think. I got one of the very last flash carts made. Sorry, not flash carts, multi carts made for the Sword M5. Now the Sword M5 isn't a popular system. It's basically a hybrid computer/console system. It was more popular in Japan, I think, than it was over here, but it was released over here. And I've got one anyway, and I like to play games on my systems. That's how I kind of measure a system. and there was a multi-cart made a couple of years ago, and there's been nothing of it online for about 10 years. And I had to do a bit of digging round, and I found this guy with a bit of help from some friends online, and they said to me, well, try contacting him this way. So I got hold of him, and in the end he said, I'm sorry, I've got none left, but I've got none left produced to sell, but I've got 1 or 2 left which I've kept for my own use. I negotiated a price with him, and he sent me the flash cart. It was very kind of cloak and dagger kind of thing, but there was nothing to worry about, and I put every confidence in it, and it came through exactly the way I anticipated it would. Real hobbyists aren't out to rip you off. When they produce something nobody else does, there's no reason for them to be shirty with you, and it's been a pleasant experience every time. So I've always communicated to you guys, listen, go ahead and do it. Now, those are 2 of the most obscure ways I've done it. Another example is, the PSIO, you have to get it from Australia, but they've revised their product, they've improved the process. I had to order that months in advance. There's places like Retro HQ who make the Neo Geo Pocket, the only Neo Geo Pocket flash device, and the Lynx flash cart as well. And they've got a proper system, they're very communicable, and even when there is a language barrier, like say the guy in France, it makes no difference. There was a guy in France and there was a guy in Belgium, and I had no problems with them at all. So, up until now, everything was fine. Then, one of my early videos, I reviewed the USB GD-ROM. Now, the USB GD-ROM is a device for the Dreamcast, and it's like the more popular GDMU. Now, the GDMU has its own story and its own problems. The guy who creates it also creates a flash device for the FM Towns Marty, which nobody else does, and he also does one for the Saturn, right? But the guy is so unorganised, he's so scatterbrained, and he will not attempt to step up production properly. And people are starting to think that he's basically holding back the technology to and keep the prices high. Now, he's paid the price for that now because the Chinese have got hold of it, and you can now get a GDMU clone, and people are buying the clones not because they don't want to support this guy. They want to support this guy, but he's kept his prices high. He makes the order process convoluted like a lottery. You have to basically you have to sign up to a thing, wait for an email, and then on the date he announces they're ready, you have to jump on and order, and he only puts a limited number on, so it's gone within minutes, like tickets to a concert. It's bullshit, and no one should have to do that kind of thing. So, people are now buying up, the people selling the clones are making a fucking fortune on them because people want them now. People want to start upgrading the CD systems, and if the only option they can get is a clone, they're going to take it, purely because it's ready to buy. So that guy's a pain in the arse. But yeah, the only other Dreamcast one is a device called the USB GD-ROM. Now, it's created by this guy called Nemo. Goes by the name of Nemo online, or he did. And I can tell you now, he's in Belarus, right? I finally tracked down exactly where he is. He's a guy in Belarus. What I can't get is his original name. I've got 3 different names for him: Nicola Kareev, Nicola something else, and then I've seen another name go down on the postage. So I don't know. So it's a guy who's obviously intending to be evasive. He's put videos up online. You never see his face. He never talks. He's not made himself very public at all, other than to peddle his wares. Now, he creates the USB GD-ROM device, which I actually liked. However, when I bought mine, I was singing its praises. I bought it off a friend who'd already gone through the order process and ordered it and never fitted it to his system. So when I fitted it, I was just purely going off what it was as a device, which was fine. It worked okay. I did the firmware update that was recommended. All works fine, no problem. So, moving forward anyway, I've got the 3DO. Right, so the Panasonic 3DO, there's a few different versions of the 3DO. I'll go into it in a bit more detail shortly. But again, this is one of those systems where the CD drive is now starting to fail. It's getting to that point where people are going to be upgrading their more obscure systems. And even though it wasn't the most popular system, people now want to preserve them and be able to play the games. and so people are needing to upgrade them now. So there's been a couple of devices created, but none of them which meant kind of mainstream. And this guy Nemo created a device called it's not even catchingly titled. It's called the USB device for 3DO. Not exactly a catchy name at all. Nothing you could really hook onto online. And tracking it down initially was a bit of a pain in the arse. So this device, it basically, all it does is it replaces your CD drive in its entirety. You just have to take this out. Handily enough, they're quite easily assembled in here. So you literally take the lid off, and you can just unscrew this. You take it out. The whole drawer assembly is separate, and then you just lift this out, and then you put on a couple of ribbon cables at the back. It's a little device about this big, and it's got a USB socket on it. Simple as that. Now this device costs, or it did cost, I'm going to go into the details shortly. It cost, I think I paid $165, right? Now, that's a lot of money, $165, you work out with our shitty exchange rate, plus the postage and everything, it breaks down, at the time I ordered it, it broke down to be about £140, right? Now, £140 isn't cheap, you're on the upper scale of EverDrives at that point. Like the SD to SNES is on the upper end of the EverDrives, the new Mega SD. You've got new devices coming out. They're a lot more elaborate than that, but they're using FPGAs, and they're starting to creep up in price now because they're doing more things like emulate an entire CD system or something like that. So I accept that because I've got EverDrives for the other systems. They're all pretty cheap now. So I accepted that, and I'd thought about it for a while, and I waited until I got the money. And my intention was to finally get my 3DO done in time for Revival, because one of the systems we have out that doesn't have a flash loading solution is the 3DO. The games are getting quite valuable now, so rather than leave those out, it makes much more sense to use flash devices, which is what we do. So I ordered it. I went onto the site, and I'm going to show you the site in just a second. I'm just going to call it up on 1 second. I'll close the page. Looks like I have. Yeah, 2 seconds. I'll just call it back up and then I'll show you. But yeah, I went onto the site, and it's something like USB Renov Russia or something. And the site is literally this, and I'm going to show you now. So you go to the first page, I'll flip this around. You go to the first page of the site, and you're presented with this. It's just it's like a Web 1.0 page. It's just a bunch of text, a couple of pictures, and links to videos that have been done by other people, which is bullshit straight away. So you can see there's a few options. There's USB for the FZ10, which is the top loader, the FZ1, the GDL101, which I think was the gold star version of the 3DO. And then, of course, you've got the USB GD-ROM controller, which is for the Dreamcast. So you're presented with a page like this. It's written in bad English as it is. It's been tidied up a little bit. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about this in a minute, because it looks like this dude's done some damage control based on his confrontation with me. And there's two versions you can get. There's an external version where you get a USB socket on the front panel, like that. All it is taking a panel and just cut a hole in it to put a USB socket on there. The device fits inside like that into the recess where the CD tray was. That's the internal version. The only difference is you get an extension cable which runs it to the front. That's the only difference. But yeah, I've got the internal version because I don't want a USB stick on the outside of it. I don't want to damage the outside. And I've just mounted it all internally. So I ordered mine. Now, as far as the ordering goes, you would literally just click how to buy, right? And what it would do, and I'm not going to click on it now because bear in mind, this site hasn't been updated in about 3 or 4 years, right? I've come to it today, and literally in the last 7 days, it has had a load of changes made to it, which is very convenient with what's gone on recently. You would click the how to buy, and it would literally give you a set of crap instructions, which if you do a quick Google as to show other people's screenshots, which will show you what it was like, just have a list of prices, and it would say, email me directly, here's the price, you agree to the terms and conditions, which are not easy to find. They're tucked away at the bottom of one of the main pages on here. And you agree to buy. You have to send me payment, and basically the order process goes like this. You send them. It gives you a PayPal address. You have to send a PayPal payment, and it had to be with friends and family. So bear in mind that's no that's no buyer protection, no comeback, not a lot you can do unless you paid on credit card and you do a chargeback, right? And he insisted that you used that method. That was the only way you could order, right up until a couple of days ago, conveniently, right? Now, he's had some flack in the past because people weren't comfortable with this. Now, I've said, like, show confidence in people. A lot of people have done the same, and they've been burned, right? A lot of people said they wouldn't order because they said to him, I don't want to do that. I don't feel safe doing that. I don't know who you are. In another country. How do I know you're going to send it? And he's just like, well, if you don't do it, you're not going to get it. And that is his attitude. Do a bit of a Google, and you'll find the results. I've got a few pages up here, which I'll show you in a minute and talk you through. And but they're quite dug down. They're on like subreddits and things like that. So I didn't really know much about this at the time, and I put my faith in it because I'd already used the USB GD-ROM. Now, a story came up a little while ago, which I'll go into a bit further. I'll just tell you where I got to. So, I placed my order with this guy, and I placed it back in early April, right? So, early April, I sent him the message. Took him a few days. He got back, just said, here's how you pay it. So I paid it on good faith. I'm polite in my emails. I'd say, let me know when it's been sent. So I send the money, right? 10 days later, I get no response at all. So I'm pissed at that point because I put faith in it and he's not even got back to me. I send him a reminder and he says, yeah, payment was received fine. Yeah, it'll be sent. And a few days later, he come back to me and said, I said to him, you said it had been sent, where's the tracking, right? Didn't get back to me. He went, and then another week passed and he got back to me, he says, it was sent. So I was like, okay. So I'll just wait at that point. And then again, another week later, nothing arrives. And I was like, well, it never usually takes this long to get anything from the continent. What's going on? So I messaged him. I said, what's going on? I've not had my device. Again, no response. Got back to him again. I said, listen, what's going on? Where's my device? And he said, it was sent on this date. You've received it. Here's the tracking. Sent me a tracking number, right? So I got the tracking, obviously. Looked at the tracking. And what was really strange was, it's on this email, he showed me a picture. He'd addressed the box correctly. And bear in mind, he'd undervalued it for the declaration. He'd valued it at $35. Now, if I'm paying for something that's cost me $165, I expect to insure him for that much. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's not to keep costs down, because when stuff comes into the EU from outside, you get slapped with an import charge anyway. So all that stuff is bullshit, right? He'd done it because that's the true value of the device, about $35, right? So bear that in mind. So he sends me a picture of that, sent me the tracking, and on this tracking, it said it had been signed for. I went to the Royal Mail site, had a look, and sure enough, yes, there was a signature. You could see this signature. This signature was just two little lines, a squiggle. Bear in mind, at my house, only me and my missus lives here. We're both out at work all day. I have a lot of parcels come here and are under strict instructions not to drop it with neighbours. And if it's undelivered, you take it back to the sorting office, which is literally about half a mile from my house. I'll pick it up at the end of work or the following morning. So no problem at all. They know me well in there, so I ain't no problems with that. So I was like, I don't know who signed for this, but it ain't me, right? So I told him this, and he went, it's been signed for. And I was like, well, it's not been signed for by me. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? And I'm like, are you shitting me? You know what I mean? So I said, right, I'm going to make some inquiries. Now, obviously, anybody who's had these problems before knows that as the recipient of any parcel in the UK, you can't do anything. Only the sender can do anything about it, right? So the onus is on him to do it. Same internationally. I contacted Royal Mail, which is difficult enough to do, to speak to someone by phone. The help was useless. I finally got hold of them by phone. After 3 phone calls to them, I finally kicked it out of them. And it was only because I really crept around this woman. She wouldn't give me the exact details, but I had to creep around this woman. She said, what's happened is your parcel was delivered to the wrong house. She said, if you track his on the sender's site, which is the Belarusian service, it actually showed on there the postcode it actually got delivered to, and the postcode was about 2 miles from my house. Why the hell it ended up there, I don't know, but it got signed for at a house with a postcode 2 miles from my house. So it clearly wasn't me. It clearly wasn't one of my neighbours. And I said to this woman, I says, so can you give me the address so I can go and get it back? And she says, no, I can't legally do that because you could go and threaten them or whatever. She said, what happens now is we have to wait for the postman will attempt to recover the item. And she checked the details, and apparently they'd tried on 3 occasions to recover it, and whoever it wasn't answering the door. Well, obviously, if they've delivered it on a day someone's at work, they're not going to be there to give it back. They get this device, they don't know what it is. You know, they're just going to throw it away or try and sell it if they do know what it is. So I said, there's no chance of getting it back. So I told this guy, I got an incident number from Royal Mail, and I contacted this guy, and I said, listen, this is the situation. Here's the reference number for the incident. Can you send me a replacement device, please? And he still responded. He didn't respond, and then he responded to me again about a week and a half later, and he said, did you read the terms? Literally, all this email said was, did you read terms and conditions? Went on and checked these apparent terms and conditions that were supposed to have been put in my face, and there's a new little entry on the bottom of the site, and it said, basically says, if anything goes wrong, you must wait 90 days before doing anything. 90 days? That's just complete bullshit. And I think the reason he's set it at that is because when it comes to doing chargebacks with banks and things like that, I know there are time limits involved. You know, with some banks it might be 6 months, with some card holders it might be 3 months. I think he's done it hoping you will either A, forget, or B, that it will expire and you won't be able to do anything. You won't be able to do anything through PayPal, you won't be able to do anything through your card holder. I mean, this is speculation, but why else would you insist on waiting 90 days? I've got the proof, I've got the reference from Royal Mail to pass to him, for him to go and make a claim. All he would have to do is go to the person he sent it with, their postal service, and say, it's been lost in the post, can I make a claim? The reason he hasn't done that, of course, is because exactly. So there you go, Andy. 90 days for a PayPal chargeback. That's why he's done it. So I give him this information, and I said, you can go to your post office and make a claim. And again, it was just like I was sending emails every day. He was not responding. And I said to him, I said, listen, all you got to do is make a claim, send me a replacement, got to wait 90 days. So 90 days to the day, I waited, right? In the meantime, I'd sent an email. I said, listen, you need to chase it up. He says, we'll chase it up with post office. That was what he said, one line, we'll chase up with post office, right? So it would have made a claim, but obviously if you've only insured it for $35, all you're going to get back is $35. So the most he's going to be out of pocket with all this, through his own fault, is $35, right? That's all it costs him to make these things, I'm pretty sure. It's only a simple circuit board, plus his custom firmware, so I don't feel sorry for him at all. It's been lost in the post, you know. Is there $35 down, right? He's not $165 down, I am, you know what I mean? So, anyway, I wait 90 days. After 90 days, I send him an email. I said, right, it's been 90 days. You know, I wasn't impressed by all this. I set a clock for it because I thought, I'm not going to wait any longer. 90 days, I says, right, it's been 90 days, not turned up. Here's the thing again, what have the post office said? And he sends me a repeat email, the same as the first one he sent me, says it's been delivered with the tracking number, and sends the tracking number for the original parcel, which I've already confirmed to him and had a big back and forward with him, saying, listen, it's lost in the fucking post. You know all this. So I'll get back to him. I said, you know all this. We've been backwards and forwards. You said to wait 90 days to make a claim. I'm making a claim. Send me a replacement. And I was getting really narked at this point. And he said, says it was delivered, nothing I can do. And I'm like, are you fucking joking me? So I bombarded him then, and I said, listen, this ain't acceptable. I've not had my device. You've had confirmation I've not had my device. All you have to do is go to your post office and make a claim. You'll get your money back. You send me my device. We're done. It's as simple as that. That's all he has to do. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing anybody else can do. He has to do it. And he just went, nothing I can do. And I'm like, you've got to be shitting me. So I got pissed off at that point, and I started to send emails. I said, listen, I'm going to send you, I says, basically, I want a result from this. I says, I'm going to continue to send you emails until I get an acceptable answer, just because this isn't on. So every 3 days after that, bear in mind this would have been mid-July, I said to him, listen, you haven't sent me my device, you've got to send me a replacement. If you don't send me a replacement, I want my money back. Simple as that. I says, it's not my fault. And his attitude of, not my fault either. I know it's not, but you're the only person who can remedy it, right? And he was taking this stance, a very arrogant stance. And it's like, you know, I know I've taken a risk, I accept that, but I've taken a risk and I've taken a chance on you. And I'm about to communicate to people what my experiences are, and you've taken the piss, basically. So I got sick of it, and I spent 3 weeks sending emails, not a single response. So I said, right, enough's enough. I've got to kind of do something. So I went online, started to hunt around, and this is when I started to find the information on this guy. I didn't find it initially, and I'm going to flip this round now, and I'm going to show you just a few small samples of what other people's experiences are. So, off we go. So I'm going to try and get this into focus so you can see my screen, because there's quite a bit to show you. Oh, knackers. Sorry guys. Yeah, I've just broken my phone holder, so I'm going to have to hold this, but I'm going to go through it anyway. Let's try and rotate this, hang on. Okay, so it's doing some damn weird things now. Sorry guys. Just as I'm getting to the good stuff. Right, I'll try flipping the camera. I dropped my phone and now it's just spazzed out a bit, so let's see if it'll allow me to rotate. No. Right, okay, so we're just going to have to deal with it like this. Is that upright to you guys, yeah? Yeah, sorry about that, fellas. Right, anyway, so I'm going to attempt to click on a few of the pages here and keep this in focus. There has been some incidents where, you go onto Reddit, you do a quick Google search, you'll come up with a lot of this. And there's comments on here from people. There was a situation that arrived whereby somebody found out he had put a... Yeah, that's all right then. I'm holding it kind of awkward, but at least you can kind of see the screen. Basically, people had found out that this guy had put a time bomb into his USB GD-ROMs. Somebody found it by accident. But basically, what he had done is he had put into the firmware an expiration date. Now, there's no information... Yeah, I know. There was basically an inbuilt... He put an inbuilt expiration into the firmware. And in this firmware, it basically means that after a certain date, your firmware would just expire, and basically your device would be not usable at all. I'm just going to see if I can get to the exact one that talks about it. Here we go. Jerk Nemo already put a self-brick timer into his USB GD-ROM and might do the same with his 3DO devices. That is exactly what he did. He put a self-brick timer into the 3DO devices as well as the USB GD-ROM devices, and a load of people got pissed off with it. And somebody questioned him on it, and I'm gonna play for you somebody else's video here. And it's because it explains it a lot better than I can, and it just makes for some interesting viewing. So, he's another UK collector. Some of you might know the guy. But I'm going to show you his exchanges with the guy. Turn this up a touch.
So, for seeing as the prices are that low, I can't really see that anyone's going to try and make a knockoff of the USB version of that board, because there's already a solution there. USB cards, yeah, sure, they're cheap, but SD cards are coming down in price all the time. So I think, to be honest, as far as the piracy side of it, it's not really a good enough excuse to have this.
It's Pez82. You can just see it at the bottom there, Kieran.
So, let me know what you think. I'll show you a bit of a clip of the guy encountering this issue, and I'll show you some of the back and forth between the creator and Gareth, so you can make up your own mind and let me know what you think.
Let's go to PSO version 2. We'll hit firmware is obsolete. Oh, interesting. This is new, okay. Firmware is obsolete. Okay. First time I've had that happen. I wonder what that is all about. Now, I did hear something about that in the past. Don't know if it means I'm going to be forced to update my system, in which case what I might end up doing is just quickly taking a break to download the image and swapping it. Well, let's try again. So let's go to online games. Let's go to Phantasy Star Online, and firmware is obsolete. Okay.
So now let's have a look at the exchange between Nemo and Reddit user Gareth. Hello. There seems to be a growing conversation about you having put time bombs into the Dreamcast USB GD-ROM boards. I purchased such a board from you a couple of years ago, and so far it has worked fine. But if it is destined to die for lack of firmware updates, and say, for example, you decide to stop developing for it, or you are hit by a bus, then I will eventually be left with a worthless brick. And if that's the case, then I need to sell it now and switch to GDEMU. I understand some others will have asked about this, but that your answers have been vague. Well, I really need to know so that I can sell the board while it's still worth some money. If that is the case, could you please confirm whether your firmware contains such a time bomb? Thanks. firmware update can be found at http://3d/renovation.ru/usb-GD-ROM-controller.htm. Thanks for the response, but unfortunately that doesn't answer the question. Does the firmware, either the current one or the latest one, contain a time bomb? The lack of a clear answer is starting to look like the truth might be yes. No, lack of firmware because I am very busy. Firmware update coming very soon. I don't think you read the email properly. I'm not asking for a firmware update. I'm asking if any of your firmware contains a time bomb. Here is link for frequently asked questions. You're still not answering me question, so I'll put it as simply as possible. Does your firmware expire after a certain amount of time, as is claimed? The two possible answers are yes or no. New firmware will be without firmware expire. Yes. Oh, it's very disappointing to hear that the current firmware is designed to expire. So, given that you say the new firmware will not contain expiry code, I guess that you mean you're talking about a future firmware and not a current one. So, all current firmware contain expiry code, correct? When will the new expiry-free firmware be released? Correct. New firmware when arrive batch of USB GD-ROM at end of June. Okay, I will watch your firmware page closely until the end of June. Please, no more tricks like expiry codes. Everyone will switch to GD.
And this is the clincher.
Including myself. If GDEMU creator did like me, firmware expiration, his device will not be cloned.
So, I'm going to just pause that there. I know there's a bit of comic element added to that, but see, what that tells you is that this guy has intentionally just, he knows what he's doing. On his site, there's actually a small section that he talks about where he compares the GDMU with the USB GD-ROM, and he's basically openly taking the piss out of the GDMU. So he thinks he's being clever by doing this. I've got a lot more pages up here where other people have complained about him, especially on Reddit. And there's quite a famous incident not long ago where he's basically playing, people saying he's playing like power games with people. Sorry about this, guys, I'm trying to get myself in focus. The guy's basically playing power games. Stone Age Gamer wanted to stock the USB GD-ROM, the GDMU and a load of other things. And he started to piss about with them, talking about the price of parts going up. And while they were going through the process of agreeing it, he started whacking the price up by a few dollars here and there. On his site, the price of his device has been creeping up now for a couple of years. In fact, I've been following this. It's been creeping up from like $130. Then, like I say, when I bought it was $165. And bear in mind, there's no protection with that, like I say, when you buy it, so that's bullshit. And in the end, there's a thing on here, which I'm going to flick to now, that was actually covered by, as many of you know, the Dreamcast Junkyard. And it's been removed from the Stone Age Gamer site now, but I'm going to quickly pan down to it, because they've copied the transcript here, and I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to read out exactly what it says. And this is indicating the kind of individual this guy is. Touch. Right. Online retailer Stone Age Gamer has announced it will no longer be distributing the USB GD-ROM by Hardware Nemo. It hit headlines a few years ago as a viable alternative to the GDMU. But it's about his character, and I'm going to just read a few sections of it to tell you what this guy is like as a person and why Even Stone Age gamers stopped dealing with him. Right. After a year of dealing with Nemo, we have found him to be impossible to do business with. We normally would not attempt to cause any drama, but in this case we feel, without explaining our reasons, because it may be hard for our customers to understand why we would stop selling a product that seemed to be in such high demand. We originally reached out to Nemo to sell his USB GD-ROM adapter mods. Although we did sell some units, his production was completely erratic, so for a while we stopped selling the 3DO adapter. Eventually we found out that Nemo had finished development on a similar modification for the Dreamcast. We were very excited by this prospect because the Dreamcast is a vastly more popular system. We reached out to him again in late 2014 and made a harder push for the product. We were shocked by his wholesale price. It was basically what we thought the actual sale price should be. We suggested that by lowering the price, it would allow both of us to sell way more units. He refused. Although we did not agree with his decision, we weren't going to beat him up on the price. Using a normal retail markup, we began selling the Dreamcast adapter at $220. Now that is far above what it is on his price. So it sounds like he was trying to sell it in bulk to them for even higher than what he was selling it at, which is bullshit. Over the year of 2015, it was hard for us to get any sustained production from him. Late summer, he alerted us he would be raising the price of each unit by almost $50 per unit because he was struggling to get supplies. So they then told him they could get cheap supplies of this part he supposed that he needed, and he just basically broke off contact with them. He made small quantities for them. He still kept the price up. They had back orders on weight and he was refusing to catch up. And then he wanted to increase the wholesale price by $30 per unit again. So the guy has just taken the piss with someone who offered to sell his products for him, and they could keep up the demand. So that's the kind of person he is. Obviously, that was quite high profile. It's now been removed from their site, but obviously this has been backed up on the Dreamcast Junkyard site. As far as the situation goes with the firmware, it's apparently been resolved. He told people it was fixed in the firmware update and that the new firmware wouldn't expire. But how can you believe a guy who's blatantly, said to people, oh no, I don't do this, and then he sticks in expiring firmware. He openly takes the piss out of people. He tries to rip off resellers. And now I'm going to continue with my saga. So, the reason I've gone into that now is because that's key in what's happened to me. So, I pushed this guy and I said, listen, I'm getting pissed off. I'm pretty prominent on the UK gaming scene. I run the UK's biggest dedicated retro event. I've been a proponent of your stuff until now. And I had to do it, and I didn't want to, but nothing else was getting through. And I said, listen, if you don't give me a response and don't give me an answer that satisfies me, I'm going to bombard you with emails every day until I get a result. So that's what I started to do. I started to send him repeat emails every day, and I started sending them from different email addresses. I started sending fake requests for the device from other email addresses. He just wasn't responding at all to mine, but he was responding to the other ones. So he was active, so he couldn't even say he wasn't active. And I said to him, I said, listen, I'm going to continue this until you give me a result. And he just stopped responding. He stopped responding to the fake emails I was sending for orders, where I was saying to him, listen, I know I've heard that you're a piece of shit, and I'm not going to order from you. And I knew he was responding to those, and he wasn't responding to mine, so I knew he was active. So I then turned to his own YouTube channel, and I put up basically a summary of what had happened to me and warned people off ordering from him. And I put it on all of his channels, all of the videos supporting his device. I put it on every single thing I could find. And then I started systematically going through. I warned him I was going to do this. I started systematically going through the forums and adding posts on the forums, telling people what I'd discovered. And you know, he was there claiming he wasn't bothered. It obviously had an impact. A couple of days later, I get a response saying, "I've been busy. Sorry, I've sent a new device for you." Right. So I was suspicious straight away because his tone had changed. His English was suddenly good, and I'd got the result I wanted. And I said, "Well, something's not quite right here." So I waited on the device. I didn't say anything to him. I just says, "Right, we'll see." So I waited and waited, and in the end, I got a device. Right. What happened was when I got the device, and I'm going to try and call this up here. So bear with me just a second. And one of the people on here already knows about this, so I'm just going to pan off just a second while I take the picture that I sent to him. Sorry guys, I'm not trying to blank you out. I just don't want you to see who this is and exactly what I'm doing. But I'm going to pull the picture off our conversation because I've still only got it saved on my phone. And I'm going to show you this picture and I'm going to show you exactly what happened. I can't find the damn picture now. Anyway, I've got the I'm sorry guys, I can't call it up, but basically I have got a picture on my phone which I'll upload in the comments to this. The device came, right, and it arrived perfectly fine within about 7 days. It arrived, and when it arrived, I installed it. I was skeptical, and I put on a few games, right? And when I put this device into my system, it played okay. But whenever I did it and I formatted it and put a USB stick in, I would notice when I would take the stick out that the actual stick, when you put it back onto a PC, is full of garbled information, like junk data, basically. And I was very suspicious about this. So I thought I'll try it again. And literally 48 hours later, I come to the device, come to try it again. And when I went to launch a game, I would go to a game, I would go to launch it. And much like you saw in that video just from that guy in America, when I would go to it, it would click and it would say, it came with a blue screen and a message which said, "Send me confirmation." And I was like, what the fucking hell is this? Now I'm going to show you what I got in the pack from him, right? It came in a crappy envelope like this, right? And inside this envelope, this is all there was inside this envelope. There was a Ziploc bag like this that had the device in, which wasn't extra padded. There was this shitty, looks like a 1980s photocopy of the device, right, which just gives you a basic, just tells you where to put it, no detailed instructions. That's the instructions that it came with. Normal load encrypted ISO, scroll up, scroll down, NVRAM to file. For launch without menu 3DO ISO loader, rename ISO image to 3DO game.iso. What the hell does that even mean? To return to menu, push the open close button for 2 seconds. Right, okay, fair enough. I've had some basic instructions before, but that is just bullshit, right? And it also came with this added note inside. After installation, contact with me. And on the back, this shitty scrawl, which said, "Send me delivery confirmation," rather badly written. Right? Now on screen, that is exactly what it said on my screen. So I emailed this guy and said, what the fucking hell is going on? Do I need to input a code or something, right? And I didn't even say it like that. I was actually polite to the guy, which by now I shouldn't have been. I should have been telling him to piss off, basically. So I went to my mail, right? And this is how the conversation flow went. Every day I'm swamped by orders. I was very busy. Sent today. So this was the replacement he finally sent after not speaking to me for, months, basically. And then this was the response I got. And I did post a picture of this the other day. He sent this as a response. Hi, I sent 2 identical packages, but 1 are lost. Not my fault. At my YouTube channel, remove your comments and your dislikes, lol, and I'll give you an unlocking code. So what this prick had done is he'd sent me a firmware corrupted USB device to install into this, which I don't know if it's causing damage or not, because it's putting corrupt data onto my USB stick. My power supply was also going very strange in this system. It was making a really high-pitched whining noise, which I've heard is what happens when you're overloading the power supply. And he put this shitty thing, and I will post the pictures in the follow-up to this because I got them on my phone, of this screen that had come up, and I literally had to input this shitty command code, which is obviously an 8-digit address, down, left, up, down, left, right. And I had to do that in order to unlock the device. Now, I've looked at the way my system operates. It now works, but it seems to operate slower than the other ones I've seen online. I've got all this corrupt data on my USB stick. I'm pretty certain, and I've left it a little bit longer to be sure, I'm pretty certain that this prick, is blackmailed, He's blackmailed me into trying to remove my posts, and I'm pretty sure he's put on a further expiry. I've got a feeling that within, I don't know whether it be 28 days, 14 days, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, I'm pretty sure that my USB device that he sent me here, he's gone out of his way, even though the prick can't bother to answer emails, he's gone out of his way to custom install a firmware on my device that will either damage my 3DO or completely fuck up this device that he sent me to not work again. So that is the length that this prick has gone to, and the evidence is all here. You can see it live on my desktop, and I will send the pictures to follow this. You've seen the other comments people have made, and that is what this prick has done. He has sent me a corrupted USB device as some kind of fucking power play, and as if to spite me for attempting to bring him down online. Now, the reason I know it was having a big impact is because you now go to this fucker's site. The Stone Age Gamer post has been removed from their site, and when you go to his site now, and this is, bear in mind, this hasn't changed for several years. This page hasn't changed. Suddenly, there's an update on the 5th of July. If you sent an order and didn't receive an answer, check my order errors log. And if you click on that, it tells you about people he's not been responding to, obviously, for some reason or another. That wasn't there before and hasn't been there for about 8 fucking years. When you go to the devices and the device pricing, the device pricing has been changed. It's now been reduced by $30 for the internal version and even more so for the external version. So he's reduced the cost of it by like $50. And when you now go to, by about $30 for each order. When you now go to make an order on here, it now gives you an option which says payment method. You will send me payment without the PayPal fees, or I will send you a PayPal invoice. That was not an option before. And if you look, the total is already up on what I clicked. it says $150, whereas it what and plus the shipping. So he's not even being transparent about his ordering prices. This guy is an absolute piece of shit. He's an absolute piece of work. He sent me a device which will likely affect and probably damage my 3DO. And I promised I would expose him. And I've said, like, all the evidence is there as to what a shit he's been to me and other people. He's gone out of his way to change his site as on the back of this. And I will be continuing my onslaught with this guy. My posts are going to go back up on his videos. I'll be sharing this video in links on his videos and other people's videos. And I will be continuing to go to the forums, and I'll be sending copies of this video. I'll be uploading this as a dedicated video to YouTube. If any of you feel like doing the same, I'm not in the fucking habit of scapegoating people because of a little tiff. I'm showing you the lengths that this bastard has gone to fuck me over and fuck over several other people, and he's going out of his way to try and hide it because he's that cocksure about himself that nobody can deal with him. Now, I was going to do a video kind of covering the 3DO. I will do a video covering the games, but I'm not going to cover this guy's device. How can I endorse a device that's been created by a prick who goes to these kind of lengths to piss somebody off who's just gone down a legitimate way to order him and has been speaking his praises till now? The guy is a piece of work. It doesn't work that great, I'll be honest anyway. This kind of documentation coming with it is useless. I've had to go online to find out how to use it properly, and apparently this is what everybody gets if you get it. You do not want to deal with somebody like this, and I hope that some of you out there will back me up on this and communicate to people the lengths that this arsehole has gone to kind of make things difficult. The fact that he's now taking extra steps to try and cover his tracks and changing his shop to make it look better. The fact he's reduced his costs, but then you go to it and it's more than it is advertised as on the main page. And the fact he's dropping his costs show that this is my onslaught so far has clearly affected his orders. This scene is trying to preserve hardware and keep it in the hands of collectors. And there's a lot of faith that has to go in with that, as there is with any scene and, any collecting scene, whether it be cars, whether it be, restorations of anything, And we don't need people like this on the scene. It's unnecessary. He's gone out of his way to be an arsehole, but wouldn't go out of his way to help someone with a genuine problem. I'm not saying it was his fault it got lost in the post. It clearly wasn't. But when you're the only person in position to do anything about it and you refuse because you cannot be asked, that speaks volumes about the kind of person he is. I will be sharing this around. He will eventually see this, and I know his English is not that bad that he can't understand this. As I've said before, language barriers are nothing. You can use Google Translate. Some of the people I've dealt with in France and Belgium have done exactly the same, and they still come across polite and helpful, even through Google Translate. So this is this is some next level bullshit. This is sociopathic behaviour. And I've got to be honest, I don't think this device is going to stay in my system. I think I'm going to bin it because I don't want to deal with it. Now, I'm going to put this invite out there now, and I do hope to extend this, and I'm genuine about this, and I hope you will share this about. I'm going to put a bounty on this software. We need a device for the 3DO. We need a device because everybody's got fading 3DOs now. Nobody should have to deal with this level of prick, right? So what I'm going to say now is I'm going to put out £1,000 reward, and I'm going to make the firmware, and I'm going to make my device available to anybody out there who's got the ability to take this shit apart with a hex editor, take this firmware apart, dissect it, find out if he has put any more backdoors into it, and find out if there's any way this software can be cloned. Because if it can, I'm going to put this software out there, and I'm going to contact some of the people who make the clone devices in China, and I'm going to see if anybody in the UK or in China will replicate this device and do it properly, so nobody else has to deal, or if they can at very least build on this software, make their own device. But nobody should have to deal with this piece of shit, and nobody should have to put up this kind of stuff. And eventually, it's going to come home, and karma's a bitch. And I warn this guy that I'm pretty well connected on the scene. So anybody out there who's got the ability, or knows somebody who's got the ability to take this device and take this software apart and find out what other little shitty surprises he's put into it, to contact me. There's a £1,000 bounty on it, and if you can basically take this apart, I'll give you £1,000, and then you can go off and you can make your own device, and people won't have to deal with this piece of shit anymore, because this is just not fucking on. Nobody should have to put up with this. And this guy, Nemo, whether his name's Nicola or whatever, I don't even know what his real fucking name is. I've seen 3 or 4 different names attributed to this guy. I'm going to be going back on his videos, and I'll be posting what a piece of shit he is, and I'll be continuing to post, because I'm not confident it's been resolved. People can say, oh, well, he's resolved it now. Oh, it wasn't his fault. But this is next level bullshit. And when you read of all the other things he's done, it's just not fucking on. So, yeah, I'm going to take this fucker to the cleaners. And I'd encourage you to share this video around and let people know exactly what he's done. I'll post the pictures to follow this as to exactly what my screens look like. And like I say, the bounty is out there. If you've got the ability to take this apart and create a new device that people can reliably use, or you've got any more stories about this guy, or you know anybody who's thinking of buying and you want to know what they're dealing with, don't trust what's on this site. He's not going to offer you any kind of protection. You know, whether you've got PayPal protection or not, he'll find a way of worming out of it. Don't believe it for a second. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to sign off now, guys, because the missus is out and the dogs are going mad. But yeah, I just wanted to cover that. I'll cover the 3DO in a separate video another day, and I'll just cover the games. I'm not going to cover this prick's device. He doesn't deserve it. And it's not worth the fucking $35 if I pay that he obviously thinks it's valued at for sending abroad. So, yeah, anyway. I'll see you later, guys. Make of that what you will. Share it around if you want to. I'll keep this video public. And I'll catch you later.